Hi, I'm Keiko Green, and I'm the playwright of You Are Cordially Invited to the End of the World. I've always loved theater. I first started as an actor, but there was a point where I realized that I loved the world building part of a rehearsal process so much, and I would get really, really sad when we opened and the director and everyone would leave. And so since I had been dabbling in writing, I was like, oh, if I'm a writer, I can just do the world building part only, and then keep world building on the next thing. And so I think that's how it ended up going in that direction. Cordially Invited was inspired by a few things. We had gone through a big kind of personal bout of deaths in my little family. Both my in-laws had passed away within 6 months of each other. And it was during COVID, and there was this point where I asked my husband, do you feel like your grief has been stolen from you? Because, we're grieving your mom, and then also everyone's grieving all this other stuff, and it just feels so sometimes small in the scheme of everything. And he said, no, it felt right that the world stopped when my mom died. And that just really hit me in a way of like, how can I theatricalize the idea that one person can be the whole world for someone else, and what does it mean to give one person's life a huge amount of significance, and then kind of share that with an audience. The one thing I can do as a writer is make sure that everyone is a hero of their own story somehow. I don't think I really write antagonists in the same way that some other writers may, so I think my big thing is to always make sure that, like, even a small character, there's something organic. Like, everything that they're saying, everything that they're doing comes from a real place of, like, they think they're doing the right thing, even if it's misguided. Sometimes I think that you just have to give over. Like, you'll have an idea of what a character will do, and they'll act. This sounds like I'm a mad woman, but truly I do think as you're writing it, they'll tell you what they want to do. And the biggest thing that you kind of have to give over to is, like, it's okay if a character surprises themselves and surprises you. That actually feels like maybe the most human way to write a character. I worked as an actor for a long time, so I did pay a lot of bills doing Shakespeare. And last night in our playwright cottage, the translator, Chris Campbell, said that every play in some way is just a response to Shakespeare, which I was like, I have to digest that one. It's cool because our play is so much about the earth, and to do our reading outside and rehearse outside was hugely challenging. And also it ended up, I don't know, it felt like kind of the, not quite literal, but the blood, sweat, and tears of rehearsing that ended up on that first reading stage. Everybody was just leaning in, even though we were surrounded by bugs, and it was, the weather changes and there's outside sound, and that ended up feeling really right for the play. And I feel like I learned a lot about is there a way in which we can make that felt like an event that night, and so how can we, even inside of a theater, bring that feeling of an event in. I think that one of the things that the O'Neill offers is just top tier talent. So we had these actors that I honestly can't believe I got to write words that some of those actors said. It means that I don't have to explain the play at all, and we can actually just really get to work, which is such an honor and a privilege. After our first reading, we have a note session, and then 2 more rehearsals, and then a second reading. So it's kind of a quirky process, but that note session after the first reading, it was me, my director, my dramaturg, and kind of like 4 or 5 other people from the O'Neill staff, including the artistic director, the lit manager, all kind of just giving me these notes. And I think that it was so helpful, and also I think for some people could have been really overwhelming, actually. And so something I'm really proud of is, as an artist, I feel like I'm learning how to receive feedback, when to push back, how to turn it into more of a conversation. And we ended up having just like this beautiful conversation that led to real actionable notes that we could implement for the second reading. And now after the second reading, I have my own actionable notes that I can take as I develop it into the future. This play has at least one, possibly two more developmental opportunities. I feel like these development organizations are really taking the place of how theaters used to be able to invest a lot of time for you to make your play really, really production ready. And now I'm really grateful for places like this because they give us that opportunity because otherwise we're just like missing out on development. I hope that people walk away being like, wow, that was the funniest play about dying that I've ever seen. And I hope that, I don't know, it gives people an opportunity to remember someone important to them, and mostly leave feeling like they've learned something, but also that they were just like so entertained and that they had a really, really kind of joyous, raucous time. So people talk all the time about how all these like playwright conferences or residencies feel like a summer camp, but no one's summer camp's the hardest than the O'Neill. Just being able to take a play and, you know, go down to the beach and read it and feel kind of, you know, it's not just focusing on your work and it's not just goofing off and socializing. You're kind of doing both, and because the residency is so long, it feels like there's not a lot of pressure to do one or the other. And I have to say, as much as I've also been going for great jogs and going into going down to the beach and swimming and stuff, I've also gotten weirdly a lot more work done than I would have expected. So.